Momentum Textiles and Wall Covering is the largest supplier of contract textiles and wall coverings to the commercial interiors industry and are recognized for sustainable product design and collaborations with renowned artists and designers. Momentum recently launched a new collection with Yinka Ilori, a British-Nigerian multidisciplinary artist and designer based in London who is often referred to as the architect of joy.
Hi, everyone. How are we doing at NeoCon? Okay. Hi, I'm AJ Perrone. I am the Executive Vice President and Design Futurist for Sandow Design Group. For those of you that don't know Sandow Design Group, we have amazing brands that you all know and love, like Interior Design Magazine, Metropolis Magazine, Design Milk, Think Lab, and so much more. So, you are at the Once Upon a Project podcast, and I'm very, very excited to have the amazing Yinka Ilori. Say hi, Yinka.
Hello, hello.
Who is the belle of the ball here at NeoCon. My God. He has won every award.
Kind of, yeah, kind of.
He's like, I don't know what hit me. And this is your first NeoCon you've ever come to?
That's correct, yeah. First time in Chicago on my first NeoCon, yeah.
So everyone that's in the audience, if you are a first NeoConer, raise your hand. Okay, there's like 30 people in your same shoes.
Not just me, okay.
They have lots of empathy for you, but they're not taking home awards like you are, so. And we're so excited to have him here. Yinka, you've done this amazing collection with Momentum. We've got a pillow here. We've got a room. I don't know if you've even seen the room.
I haven't seen the room. No.
Okay, we'll show you. It's a little sneak peek from the product shot. Okay. So we're so excited that you're joining us here today. I know your schedule's crazy with NeoCon, but we want to hear more about you.
Yep.
So tell us your background of how you became a designer.
Well, I started my career sort of going on in nearly sort of 14, 15 years. I have a small design studio in London where we design products and architecture, and we work within interiors, a little bit of fashion, but we work across disciplinary. We're a small team of like 15 people, architects, product designers, illustrators, and we just work on projects globally around the world. But I studied furniture design during my degree, my Bachelor Honours degree.
Where did you study?
London Metropolitan. The Sir John Cass, and that was my first entry into design. That was through designing furniture and products. And then I, got a loan from the Prince's Trust, which is a fund owned by King Charles himself, where he gives creatives a loan to start their business. So he gave me around £4,000 when I finished uni to start my design career.
So, in London, when there's a retail shop, you have the little crest, the royal crest. Are you going to get a little royal crest to put on top of all your products?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. It's
I can call Chuck up for you and ask him. So you talk a lot about how design influences people and their feelings and emotions. How has design changed your life?
Design has changed my life in a number of different ways. I grew up in London, born to Nigerian parents. But I think for me, the benefit of design is to change the world. It's to impact and inspire and to, I think, make the world a better place. So for me, I've always used design as a way to, bring people together, communities and cultures. And, I love telling stories, but also I love making memories within design. So for me, it's always kind of been a tool that can really, change the world and make it a more joyful and inclusive place. And that's how I use design within my practice.
And so much of that is about color with your products. A lot of designers tend to shy away from using bold, strong colors. Tell us your philosophy and how you've gotten to create such strong, joyful patterns.
Well, from a young kid, I've always been, immersed around color. I'm Nigerian, so my parents, born in Nigeria, moved to London. And color is everything that they use to make memories, whether it's going to a church service or to a wedding or being at home. It's very celebratory. It's very joyful and positive. So as a young kid, I was quite shy of color because my parents were very loud and unapologetic with what they wore. And they loved attention. They loved being seen. They loved being, the loudest in the room. And as Nigerians, we are very much, we are loud people. we love to.
Maybe I'm Nigerian though.
Maybe you
because
are.
I'm
Maybe
very
you are.
loud.
Maybe you are. We're very expressive, and I always sort of try to shy away from that. But I went to Nigeria when I was like 11 years old for the first time, and I was blown away by the culture and the language and the richness and in materiality, the textiles and the fabrics, and that really did change my perspective on why they wore what they wore and what it did for them. And that kind of fed through into my practice. Hence why I use color in my work, because I know how much joy it brings people, but also the way it brings us together to share, one common thing and one common feeling. So that was my trajectory into the use of color in my work.
And I mean, when you think of London, you don't think of bright, happy
No,
colors.
You don't.
And I mean, not to put down the British at all, but my boyfriend is British.
Okay.
But I understand you much better, just to say, to tell you that. But I can imagine is somewhat of a shock to some people that you've worked with, no matter what country they're from, that are used to kind of these very soft, sophisticated, muted kind of spaces that you're bringing in such strong. Do you get people that are like, oh my God, no, I can't have that? I mean, do you get negative?
No, I don't actually. I've been quite fortunate that everyone I've worked with from my career has always wanted to work with me because of the use of color. I had one client say to me, I use too much color, and I was like, do you know what I do? This is what I use. I use color. No, I think whenever I wear color, people want to speak to me. People want to engage. People want to, connect. If I wear black at home, my parents will ask me if I'm okay or if I'm well. Are you happy? So I think, especially within Nigerian culture, color is always something that is linked to positivity and something positive. But also it's linked to affirmation. I wear colors because I'm always trying to affirm something in my life or in my day.
So when we look at your collections, your award-winning collections, thank you very much, and you look at the patterns and the use of the different colors together, somehow it does exude happiness and joy. How do you do that? How do you put these color combinations together that it actually brings joy when you look at it?
Yeah. Again, it has to go back to my parents, because they never really looked at the next Pantone color of the year, or they never looked at color trends or style trends. And I think that was kind of passed on from my grandmother to my parents and to me. So they would, my mum would travel to Switzerland or Nigeria, and she would acquire these amazing Swiss foil lace fabrics and textiles, and she would curate, what she wore, and my dad would curate what he wore, and just my aunties and uncles. So they never really sought permission to use color or apply textiles. They just kind of did it because it made them feel good. So I adopted those ways of working and thinking and how you use color, and that's why I think I'm really good at using color, but also using color as a form of communication, but also trying to evoke different themes and different emotions when you wear it, because some colors can make you feel uplifted or joyful or relaxed. There is a science to color, and that's something that a skill I've learned over the 15 years of being an artist designer in London.
That's amazing. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what the process was like of your recent project with Momentum. So you're in London.
Yep.
They're in the United States.
That's right.
How did they find you, and how did the collaboration work?
Yeah, good question. I've got, again, a small design studio, and I work with different collaborators around the world. We work on probably 20 projects a year, and they range from pavilions to a brand collaboration with a fashion house, or maybe a product or a watch, or it could be anything. And I move around all these projects, throughout the year, and my team are meticulous in the way they work with me and work 24/7 around the clock. But I was in London. They were in Chicago, I think, or somewhere in the US, Pennsylvania. I'm not sure where, but in the US. And someone had seen a project I did in London for a leather company a guy called Bilamberg, and he emailed me about doing collaboration with him, creating artworks for his towel height. And someone called Ellie in Momentum saw the collection and shared it with the team. And then Jennifer, who is an audience behind you there, reached out to me and asked about maybe doing a collaboration with Momentum Textiles. I was not sure about doing a collaboration because we work with so many brands, and sometimes with brand collaborations, they can sometimes control the narrative, and sometimes you're not as free as you think you'd want to be when you start the contract, and then you get through the middle, you kind of lose the DNA identity because it becomes diluted. So Jennifer came to my studio in London just for a day. I was really busy. She came to see me for about an hour, and we had a great chat for an hour, and gave you a studio tour and discussed my process and my practice, and we just connected just over, a cup of tea. I think you gave your tea or something. You had a hot drink, and we just got on so well, and then it just kind of happened from there. And then I was still a bit flaky with our conversation. I'm just not sure. And then we just started to kind of grow. And then 2 years, 3 years, we're here in Chicago with the collection.
Now, I'd be remiss, Jennifer, if you can stand up just for a quick second. Jennifer and I won a HIP award for people category.
Yes.
She is one of my favorite people.
More about the behind the scenes right after this short message. Momentum Textiles and Wall Covering is excited to share the Yinka Ilori by Momentum collection, which includes a series of commercial textiles and wall coverings that is bold and unapologetic in its colors and patterns. From the minimal mod florals to the stacked geometrics, each pattern tells a story that inspires and empowers community across workspaces. From collaborative meeting rooms to hotel lobbies, educational settings, and beyond. Together, they aim to transform commercial spaces into playful, creative hubs that inspire, uplift, and heal.
So I can completely understand that you're like, I'm not sure about it. And then you meet Jen and you're like, I love you. I want to work with you, right?
That's what happened. Yeah, that's what happened. And I think it's quite important when you collaborate with different brands, whether it's products or textiles or whatever the collaboration is that you have an understanding of kind of what you are both offering. And making sure that, it's a collaborative process and it's 50-50, because you're both trying to express something about your brand or your artistic practice or your vision. And that's been consistent through the whole process of our collaboration. And that's why I think, it's people can see the honesty in the collaboration. And I think that's why it's won awards. Because you can sometimes see when brands work with artists or designers, it could be more about the name of the artist or designer. And sometimes it just feels like it's a copy and paste collaboration where you give them the artwork, they just stick it on your shoe or your whatever it is, and you can see it's just another collaboration. So for me, when I work with brands, I sort of work out, is it just another collaboration or is it actually something that the world needs? And I think the interior design world and textiles needed this collaboration to happen.
Well, obviously, because everyone is trying to find the bags and the scarves that they're handing out. Luckily, I know people and I got one for myself. But let's talk a little bit more about the collection. And you're having to come up with designs for wall coverings, for fabrics. Like, how did you find your inspiration for this collection? Like, was it things that you had done in the past? Did you have to learn how to make things work on fabric or wall covering differently than like a basketball for hands?
Yeah.
Because he did design a basketball.
I did.
So
I did. I think, I think one of the things I find quite fascinating is that loads of brands, whether it's textiles or graphic design, think I'm a graphic designer. And I'm not a graphic designer. And sometimes we get bids over people who are graphic design studios. But because of I've always been surrounded by graphics and illustrations from my parents and what they wore, it was quite natural for me to kind of move into that space. So my process probably starts off by with an idea. This was the first sketch that I sketched in my sketchbook. There's actually another one. It was called Dream Catchers. And that was inspired by me experiencing my first dream catcher in a British countryside in Norfolk. And that formed the basis and the opening for all my illustrations. And that's why the collection is really much inspired by dreams and collecting dreams and supporting the idea of affirmation within interiors and textiles. And that was how I started designing the colorways and all the other kind of themes within the collection.
I'm definitely taking the wrong supplements at night because my dreams don't do that. I dream about, did the carpet install get in correctly? Things like that. That's amazing that you've had kind of these visions and these ideas and you can translate it. How do you actually do that? Is it on paper? Are you sketching? Are you using technology? Like, how do you actually get it out of your head and into something else?
So it always starts off with a sketch. I have like 30 sketchbooks I just keep going through and just stack them up in my studio. And sometimes I might go back to the sketches to look at them, or I might archive them. But I sort of find that whenever I travel, it's when I sketch the most. When I'm on a plane, I've got no Wi-Fi, I can't call no one. It's just music, my pen, and my sketchbook, and I just produce ideas. And that's when I love creating, because no one's bothering me from my studio, no one's WhatsApping me. I can just focus on my work. But yeah, there's a sketch, me and my notebook, and then my team take the sketch. They sort of fine-tune it for me onto Illustrator or Photoshop. And then I go back to look at the color palettes and the tones, and it's just kind of back and forth, and then it's fine-tuning, sketching again. And it's just kind of endless of a sketch of back and forth between me and my team.
I love that, because I think sketching keeps your mind nimble.
It does.
Right? And it allows you, like, if you've heard the term, go take a line for a walk, right?
I haven't actually, no.
It's like, just let the line go wherever it needs to go, and you might surprise yourself what comes up. Is that kind of how your thinking is?
What it is, it's like similar to how, like, I think kids, like, a baby, when you give a kid who is 1 or 2 a paper and and a pen, they're going to just sketch and do whatever. They're not thinking about the mistakes or the
coloring outside the lines.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of how I am when I'm sketching. I just have fun with it. I'm just free with the process and not thinking about something that's going to be perfect, because those imperfections are what actually creates the beauty in my illustrations, is when I'm actually just enjoying it and just thinking out of the box.
So as interior designers, we really feel it's our responsibility to have people experience, hopefully positively, a space, and even have a space be restorative to them, bring them into a different focus or a different state of emotion. Were you thinking about those things when you were designing these textiles and wall coverings? Like, what was your highest hope for this collection and how it could transform the built environment?
I think, when I go into any space, I always think about what memory or experience do I want to get out of that space. Whether it's a pavilion I'm designing or a playground, which we do a lot of in London, is what can you take away from experiencing my sculpture or my pavilion or the cushion or the sofa. And that, for me, it was simple. It was, I wanted you to feel a sense of joy and a sense of connectivity with your audience or your friend or your family. And that was the first thing I thought about, is that how can we make a space, or using interiors, that can celebrate each other. And that was the idea and the basis of this collection.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I mean, really, it's like,
Thank you.
I want to create a space that people feel joy. There's no better purpose in life, honestly, than to try and do something like that.
I think with most, the biggest thing is always, I think with most architects, I think in particular, I think they sometimes probably forget the people are the ones who actually breathe life into the space. So interior designers are so key to any projects, because...
Thank you for saying that.
It's true. That's true. So I think those things are things I think about, from the beginning, is like, what experience are you going to get from being in this space?
So you were a little hesitant to start this project.
Yep, I was.
Now that you're reflecting, now that you've won all these awards and you are the belle of the ball at NeoCon, what's your take now when you reflect back on this project? Like, would you have done anything differently? Are you happy that you decided to take this leap of faith? When you reflect on it, maybe even haven't had a second to reflect on it, but what's your feelings now?
No, I think it's definitely the right decisions I made, to work on this collaboration, because, this is my first textile range, and I've launched it in the US. But I think for me, like, the whole process has just been, very much a collaborative process. They've been very respectful of everything from photography to art directing to styling to everything has just been well thought out. And, everything is me, So I'm really proud of the collaboration, proud the world has got to see it this week. And I hope that it is everywhere, from interiors to exteriors, and that people feel a sense of joy and hope that when they use it, in their personal space or public space.
Okay, besides textiles and wall covering, what has been your favorite thing to design?
Wow. My favorite thing to design. Do you know what? I'm 37, and I feel like every day like this, I feel like I'm sort of, even like being here in the US, I feel like I'm sort of starting again. I feel like I'm sort of starting my practice from when I was in my sort of early 20s, because it's a new audience. I'm telling a new story. I'm using a new medium. So I don't think I've kind of could answer that, because I think, I've designed footwear. I'm doing a fashion collection this year. I enjoy working across different mediums. But right now, and if I'm living in this moment right now, it would be this collaboration. Oh. Yeah.
Well, that's a good choice too. We'll let you have that as well. It is super fun. Okay. Are your parents proud of you?
They are, yeah. It's funny because, growing up in London and parents, who are Nigerian, we had to either be like a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer, because they didn't understand the world of design. And so they always used to just think you were going to be, I was supposed to be an engineer. That was what my parents said I was going to be.
I'm so happy you're not or maybe it would have been amazing if he was an engineer, and imagine the new bridges, how colorful they would be. Like it could have been really cool.
Could have been.
But we're happy that you're a designer.
Thank you. Yeah. But they're proud. Yeah. I think they still sometimes don't know what I really do. But, they get to kind of, come to the shows. But yeah, they're proud. My family are proud.
Do you think they understand the impact that you're having with all of these designs?
I think, yeah. They do. When we're out in public and we travel somewhere, someone might come up to me and be like, "Oh, you Yinka?" And they're like, "Okay, wow, like people like what you do." So I'm like, "Yeah, they do like what I do, Mum." So I think they've been to my shows, they've traveled with me onto some of my openings, and yeah, they are proud.
Well, they should be.
Thank
and
you.
If they're not, call me and I will call them and explain how amazing you are. So we've got a lot of young designers in our audience. If you had one piece of advice to give to a budding designer, whether they're interior designer or product designer, it doesn't matter, but what would be your one piece of advice for someone starting out in this industry?
I think for me, it would be to trust the process. People always ask me, how did I find my style or find my language? And I think it took years of kind of just researching and traveling and, really trusting the imperfections and the beauty within your work. We live in a world where everything's coming at us really quickly. Instagram and Pinterest and social media. And you're really kind of fed so much information and inspirations. You sometimes find yourself emulating something else. And I try and block out all those things that I feel like are quite distracting for me. And that's why I think my DNA is so distinct. So Yinka Ilori, it's because it's my lens and it's my story. So I think, just kind of find your own voice and your own narrative. And I think that will set you apart from anyone else within the industry, because there are so many every year, new interior designers, new architects, new product designers. And they come quick, And
it's kind of a culture issue right now, because the 15-year-old of mine that's running around the mart right now, she's handing out things for the HIP Awards. But I look at the things that they are watching on TikTok. They all want the exact same thing. Oh, it's Stanley mugs. Oh, now it's this certain kind of makeup. And now it's this. And then when we go to London and we go to a remote part of England and we meet a young girl her same age who's never seen an American ever before, never. An American girl is like, I've never met an American girl. They love and follow the exact same things. The culture, there's no cultural difference. And I worry about that because it's so curated by manufacturers and almost manipulated. And what's your recommendation to get away from that so you can be in this space that can have true creation, right?
Yeah, I think it's about trying to find your design community, so people either think, like you or have ideas like you. I have a small group of friends in London who are, for me, like visionaries in what they do and how they think and the ideas they want to, create and put out into the world. So I kind of keep myself surrounded by people who are grounded and people who travel around the world and want to change the world of design, because I think as interior designers and designers, our role is to change the world and make people feel good in what we do.
I agree with you 100%. Yinka, this has been amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this private audience.
Pleasure.
And really excited to have you here on our podcast. Is there any closing remarks you would like to share with?
Closing remarks.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I'll just probably say, just enjoy NeoCon and hopefully you find something that really does inspire you and keep dreaming. Yeah, that's all I would say.
Thank you so much, Yinka. Thank you.
Follow Momentum at momentum_textiles_walls and Yinka Ilori at Yinka_Ilori on Instagram, and check out the new collection at Momentum's website at momentumtextilesandwalls.com. Once Upon a Project was produced by Surround, a podcast network by Sandow. Special thanks to our producer, Hannah Vitti. Thanks for listening, and I can't wait for you to hear our next story.